Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome to Women We Should Know.
Welcome back to Women We Should Know, the podcast where we consistently bring you the voices, the courage, the audacity, the tenacity to change the direction, to change the paradigm, to color outside of the lines and to refuse to get into boxes that were created by someone else. I love speaking with these women. Now, you've heard me say that before, and it is the truth. I have the greatest job in the world because I get to have these wonderful conversations with women who are carving new pathways. And the thing about every single one of them that I bring into this studio is that they are all leaving the light on so that we can see how to follow if we want to. It is an incredible honor. And then to be able to bring those conversations to you makes it all the much more rich. I absolutely love doing this for you. So, guess what I have? Another fabulous woman. Yes, Wendi Hatton is a heart-centered sales coach. Whew, now that's a sentence you don't hear often. And she is also a LinkedIn strategist with Linked Prosperity LLC, an industry innovating coaching company headquartered in Washington, D.C. She teaches women entrepreneurs how to acquire high-quality leads through collaborative marketing. Now, this is something we've talked about, women. We are great at collaboration. It's a natural skill that we do not accentuate to our best interest. Wendi teaches women how to treat each other the way they would want to be treated and how to convert those leads into clients from a place of honesty, authenticity, and integrity. Wendi is the creator of Linked Prosperity Intensive, a 10-week online program for women entrepreneurs who struggle with their presence on LinkedIn so they can stand out as authorities in their specific areas of expertise. Her training program, High-End Coaching Academy, supports coaches in their most needed areas of marketing and sales strategies. A Navy veteran. No, this is no shrinking violet, women. A Navy veteran and professional clarinetist. Wendi was named Woman of the Year 2015 through 2016 and VP member by the National Association of Professional Women. Now, that's not a small accomplishment. She was also featured in fall 2015 issue of the Women of Distinction magazine. And I am so pleased that she is here to have a conversation with all of us. Hi, Wendi.
Hi, Leslie. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
That bio, thanks for reading that bio. I got reminded about that. A lot of different things.
Got reminded of how great you are? You know, that's something that women could use a lot more of. And I've just recently started inviting women, all the women we work with and all the women I speak with, to make an agreement with 2 or 3 really strong, reliable, true friends to every once in a while say this to each other. Before we get into some of the really meaty, wonderful things that I know you are eager to share with our listeners, I want to speak about something in your bio. One of the true and consistent challenges that I see women having, and obviously you do too, because you've created programs around it, is women being able to stand up and claim their authority in their specific areas of business. In fact, I read that an intensive study, I don't remember whether it was Harvard or Johns Hopkins, top university did this study, that if men have almost 60% of the skills for a position or to lead a team project that's come available, they will lobby for that. And they will lobby not only that they are qualified, but that they are the only qualified person. Women have to have almost 80% of the skill set before they will even timidly attempt to lobby for that position. How do you help women come out of this truly self-defeating pattern?
I actually realize how women who are excellent, if they're experts in certain areas, they don't really value it as much because it's more natural to them. So they figure other people won't value it. So I try to help them realize that what they do is valuable to other people because they did all the work on learning and taking all their training and studying and getting everything honed in, and other people haven't. So I try to get them to understand that they are actually the authorities and they help other people who aren't the authorities. And so it's just hard for them to realize that it is something really valuable, that, their expertise. They just kind of figure, oh, everybody knows about that. I was like that too. I remember thinking, oh, everybody knows that. Why do I need to teach that at all? But then later, I realized that not everyone does know it. Like not very many people do know about this. So
That's right.
that's how I help them realize that, what their expertise is important for the people that they want to work with. So they finally are empowered and are able to do that, and then can go out and help other people and realize that they actually do know what they're talking about, and that other people know that they do too. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's important that women start talking about things, I believe. We walk around feeling like, well, I'm not qualified, or I'm not all that skilled, or whatever it is. And we keep it all inside like our dirty little secret. And if we would start talking about it, we'd find out that all the other women in the circle are just the same.
True.
That would help us.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned I'm a clarinetist, so I'm an active professional clarinetist. So going through the years and getting more advanced performing and playing, I did a lot of soloing. I would go out in front of either an orchestra or a band and play a solo. I would still get so nervous because thinking that people in the audience are going to be judging and not really appreciating what I'm doing. But in the reality was I was the only person in that whole building that knew how to play that particular solo better than anyone else. So I had to try and get that mindset in me before I walked out on stage, and it would help me with not getting as nervous. So
right.
I would translate into our industry right here is knowing if you're going to go out and speak in front of a group of people, you're the only one that actually knows as much as anyone out there. Your perspective, just the way that you look at the topic you're talking about, it's your thing, because no one else has that. Even if other people in the audience have an idea and they have their own ideas on certain things, you have your idea, and that's what you want to portray to the audience. So that's how you can stand out and be the one that people will look up to.
Yes. Yeah. And after all, there's not a single one out there in that audience that's going to say anything as ugly to you or think anything as ugly about you as you've already said to yourself and thought about yourself. So, okay,
Absolutely.
The worst it's over. That's the worst. You've heard the worst that can be. So now just go forward.
That is absolutely true. Oh gosh, that's very true.
Yes. Yeah. Women, I just love them. And I would love them to love themselves as much. Of course, that's not to say I don't have my days. I would love to hear how your experience as a clarinetist helped you transition into self-empowerment through coaching and through helping women relate to one another in a more uplifting and successful way.
Oh, wow. Great question. Okay. So the whole reason why I started coaching was because I was in the Navy band and I retired. And the logical thing to do would be to start a clarinet studio of teaching lessons. So I did that for a few years, but then I just knew that there was something out there that I could make a bigger impact around. And but I just kept teaching. I just didn't know what it was. And then, you know, a lot of times when people retire from the military, they kind of slop off like I did and started eating like whatever I wanted to eat. And so I just started gaining all this weight. And so I knew that I was teaching, but I knew that I needed to change how I was, you know, wanting to be in terms of my physique. And so I did find an online coach. And so that was my very first experience with coaching. And throughout that particular year, I was she helped me lose 70 pounds. And so I was so, yes, I was so.
That's an accomplishment.
Yes, I would not have been able to do that without her. And so I lived the power of coaching. And so I was thinking, gosh, I want to help other people, other women lose weight as well, which I did for about a year and a half. But then I kind of transitioned into the business and sales because a lot of people I was meeting, some of these other coaches that were health coaches, they kept telling me that they didn't know how to get clients. They had all this expertise, but they just couldn't figure out how to get to the right people. So I had experienced growing my clarinet studio, so I had some idea about how to attract clients. So I started just teaching them a little bit, and they started doing really well. And I was thinking, I really love this. So I empower these ladies to excel in their business. I'm going to go get some formal training so I can really help them. So that's where I am right now. And so just in order to just get from one end, some issue you might have, some problem, and you get over it, then you have the power and you can be empowered and help others to become empowered too, to be where you ended up. So that's
right.
Yeah, that's how I sort of ended up. And I had a radio blog talk radio show. It was called Sky's the Limit Radio, and I interviewed with two other coaches, several coaches of different niches for about 5 years. And so that's how I got to know some of these coaches. And when they would tell me they wish they'd had some more clients, and I was thinking, gosh, because we had interviewed them, and we just in those little sessions, we had gotten such great value, and we were thinking they can't get out in the world and share all of this expertise. So I definitely need to help them. So that's why I help coaches, to help them get their word out, get themselves out there, especially women coaches, and get them up so they can be noticed and people can be attracted to them. So
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Absolutely. When you are coaching coaches, and it's so important because as I'm sure you know, the statistics are that 77% of women, even at the highest levels, do not have a mentor or coach. So what you're doing is so important. What for women listening, regardless of where they are, whether they're just starting out, whether they've had a coach, whether they haven't, it does not matter. What would be the number one tip you could just share with them, a gift that you could give them, actionable
in terms of
experience, in terms of starting to see themselves differently so that they can get more clients?
I would say to do a lot of inner work, like in the morning. Like in the morning, your subconscious mind is open to either positive or negative.
Yes.
So make sure that it's positive things that you're thinking. That just think at first, actually make a list of all the things that you are good at, whether it's
Mm,
about a business or just in
mm,
personal life.
mm-hmm,
10 things that you are good at, that you know that you're good at. So
mm-hmm,
just write them down. And then in the mornings, as soon as you wake up, before you even get out of the bed, just think of those 10 things and then just say, I am such and such, and make sure you have the word I am that this, so that ingrains in your subconscious mind, and you'll have a better day. I'm sure it'll be a much more positive day because you've got those positive things inside your subconscious mind. So that would be, I think, the first thing is to write this list of 10 things that you know that you are good at.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, this way it'll just soak into your unconscious mind, subconscious, not
Yes,
unconscious.
yes. Your frontal lobes and your prefrontal cortex.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, in terms of when, for the women that have never tried to get a coach or never had the courage or never felt they were worthy, or they ended up on the bad end of, well, my friend had a cousin who had a neighbor who lived down the street from, that never goes well. When inviting them to know how to identify a coach, I know one thing I always tell people, whether you're going to work with me or anyone else, ask them what they know about brain science, because just that little piece of brain science that you just offered all of our listeners is more powerful than a lot of what's out there. I I always ask them, get someone who knows something about that. Call Wendi. What would be your first tip on how to select a good coach for you?
I would definitely do the due diligence
Mm-hmm.
and do some research on the person. Follow them on social media for a little while.
Mm.
And if you feel inclined, you can even reach out and compliment something that you read about what they wrote, and make it so that they feel that they know that you actually did read something that they wrote, some
Right,
content.
right.
So you're not just doing it, just saying it, that you
Yeah, you're not
genuinely,
saying, oh, love your work. That
yeah,
doesn't mean
right.
anything. Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, something specific that you saw and that really resonated with you. If you
Right.
can actually reach out to that person, even if they're big, high up above you, that they'll
Mhm.
still appreciate it. They're humans. They want to know that you enjoyed and appreciated and resonated with what they wrote. And so
Mhm.
just see what happens, and see if they respond. If they don't, then you can maybe make a comment on any of their posts. They'll see
Mhm.
those for sure. They might
Mhm.
not see a private message if you sent one, but
Mhm.
if they posted something, they want to see the comments. And so
Mhm.
definitely make comments complimenting them, and maybe if you have some kind of valuable comment to add to it, to kind of reinforce what she or he just said, then they'll enjoy that too. So I think that would be a great way for you to just kind of get an idea of these different people that you
Mhm.
might want to work with. It'll give you
Mhm.
a much better sense in terms of, if you want to reach out and say, can we get together sometime?
Right.
Some of the people that I've noticed, if they reach out and actually help you do something
Mhm.
without you paying them at all, then that's a good sign as well. Some
Mhm.
people do that.
Mhm.
Many don't, but
Yeah, many don't. I think
many
that's
don't.
a great idea. And I yep, I learned how to speak yesterday. Um, I particularly appreciate the fact that you include the encouragement to be specific about something they said or something you heard them say or you read that they said, so that they actually know that you are paying attention. You're not just you're not just saying, oh, love your work, so that they'll follow you back.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that goes on social media. So I truly appreciate your encouragement in that's a really juicy, valuable tip, Wendi. Thank you for
Oh,
that.
oh, great.
Yes. Now, as you go forward, and I want to get around to this diversity topic because that's one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm always learning. But first, I want to ask, how is it that you help your mentees, as it were, to maintain their momentum or to maintain their movement until they hit momentum so that they can see the fruits of all of what they've put out there?
I get present with them. I reach out to them, see how they're doing. If I notice that they're not moving forward as well, I reach out and ask how I can help. Where are you stuck? So I just
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I don't disappear, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm always present with them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that they feel like they are supported. So
Mm-hmm.
if they feel like they are supported and they feel, I have different ways that they can reach out and ask questions
Mm-hmm.
inside my little portal, or
Mm-hmm.
even in the live Q&As, they can ask any question they want to.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm even able to, if they wanted to text me too. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm very, very available for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if they start feeling stuck, then
Mm-hmm.
they know where to find me. So that's what I
Absolutely.
would suggest people to do, to just be very present. Even if you have a big group of people, still be available for them, and have them know exactly how to get in touch with you, even if it's just
Mm-hmm.
an email or
Right.
something.
Right.
Yeah.
And as
Hmm.
I know, just in our correspondence as colleagues on numbers of different topics, you are right there. You're on top of it. So anyone who reaches out to you is going to get a clear, consistent, and informational response. I do know that of you, and I really appreciate that of you.
Yes, I just know that, as in my experiences, when the mentors are not as present,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel less supported, and so then I don't move forward. So I just want to make sure everybody gets this all the support they can from me. And Leslie, she is in my podcast right now, or my summit. And so, yes, I'm trying to be available for everyone if they need any support or anything. So,
You do a fine job of it. Not many can make the same claim to the degree that you do.
thank
Um,
you.
I would, I appreciate all the talk about the coaching, and women need it so, so, so much. So thank you for going down that path with me. But I'd like to circle back around and invite you to speak about the importance of diversity in our society, and how you, as a woman of color, came to understand the importance of this and how it impacted you in any ways that you would be comfortable sharing.
Well, it's very interesting because I grew up in a little town that was predominantly white. I think my family and one other family were the only Black families in the entire little town in California. So
Mm-hmm.
we would go to school, and interestingly, my father was the principal. So, but something that I really remember is when we in social studies, I was sitting in the classroom, and
Mm-hmm.
then the light is dark, the whole room is dark because we're looking at films, and it's all about the Civil War, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
all like Black people are all over, and so I'm the only one sitting there, and I could feel eyes like just looking straight at me, even though they weren't looking at me. I would look around and nobody was looking at me, but I felt like every eye was looking at me. And I think that might have been my hang up, or just kind of my nervousness or anxiety about that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we did live in that town for about 7 years. So I was, by that time, I was able to get used to it. And we moved to a little bit more diverse area, town nearby. And so it was definitely a different feeling. I felt more comfortable because there were people that looked like me sitting around in the classroom. So I do think it is important, but I also am glad that I had that early experience knowing that I can make it okay, even if there aren't people that look like me. It's just a little bit, it wasn't as comfortable, but I got used to it. um, and then after, middle school, high school, and into college, there was never any problem in terms of diversity, in terms of me being the only one. But that initial experience that I had in elementary school, I think it sort of helped me realize that diversity is important because of I felt comfortable being around other people that were like me. Um, and just it helps me realize that diversity is an important thing, whether it's for a Black person or any other type of ethnicity, to be in together in um, with each other, not separate into their own separate little groups. Like all of my programs, I have images of women and some men, but it's all diverse. Like there aren't any photos that has no people of color at all. So I just want to make sure that I represent that diversity in my brand too, in my business as well. So it is, and I think that everybody should, no matter if they have different cultures, they should still respect the other culture and listen to the other person. Maybe you'll learn something about their culture. It's something very interesting. If you meet someone that's not like you, you still want to like become friends if you want to, if you're close to them, working close to them or going to school close to them. Because who knows, you're both human beings and you both have your own experiences. And so, you might become the best friends and you're not even the same ethnicity. So I believe in just the whole world being together in the diversity. Just because we're all human beings, we're all going through the same lives. All going through life, and just to be around other people that aren't like you, that are different colors. I was around a lot of people that weren't like me in elementary school, and I had great friends there. So that made me realize, oh, I can be friends and collaborate and work with other people that aren't like me. So I don't know if that helps, but it does just make it seem like diversity is very, very important. Like we don't want to separate ourselves from others. We want to be together, and we'll just make the world a better place that way.
Right. I have found that, and I believe this to be the potential for all of us. I grew up with a Jewish grandfather he was a fisherman, he was a farmer. All of these were hobbies. He didn't need to do these things, but they were hobbies. But I grew up in a rainbow of people. We'd go out to this friend who was a Native American, and because he had a river running through his property. We'd go out to this friend who was a Black man, because he was the best pig raiser and pig butcherer, and my grandpa would buy pigs. There were all this stuff. And then when I got out into the real world, I realized, oh, this is not the world I understood. This is not how I understood life to be. The thing I have always taken away is that I find people who are just focused in their own little segment of society, only being around white, cisgendered, privileged people. I'm kind of a snob about it, simply because I think their lives are narrow. I think they have missed so much richness that they can gain from eating different foods, being around people and learning how different people pray differently. I mean, I have friends in New Zealand who are Maori, and I have friends on in Hawaii who are Hawaiian, and how people pray differently. What does it mean when they pray? And how do they, what's this food? I can't say I loved it all, but I can't say I love all white people food either. But life gets narrow, and I can see why. I can understand why a lot of white people are afraid. We're afraid of what we don't know. Take a plunge. We're afraid of what we don't know in terms of getting out on that stage and speaking. And we're afraid of what we don't know in terms of communicating with this person who looks different from us. So do something that scares you today. Just do something that scares you all the way down to your toes, is what I say.
Definitely.
In the way that weaves everything you do, your commitment to speaking to diversity, your understanding of what you experience on different sides of the world and then different types of communities, your experience with helping women to learn how to be comfortable with claiming their value and to move out there and be comfortable that they have something really important to offer. How do you bring all of this together as one expression of Wendi?
Wow. What a nice question that is.
Oh,
okay.
thank you.
Let's see. Can you repeat that? I want
to. Sure, I'll repeat it. Nico will cut that out. When you, who knows, he'll cut out the one that's not the best.
Okay.
When you combine your commitment to speaking to diversity and the importance of diversity and your experiences, feeling all those eyes upon you when you were watching films about the Civil War and then going out into the different segments of your life as you grew, being around more sometimes diverse communities and less sometimes, and then you progressed to the point of helping women understand their value and really claim their value so that they could build their business that they deserved and bring in clients who they could serve and really help. When you take all of these, we can seem like we have divergently different parts of ourselves, but they're not really. They're all part of us. When you take all your divergently different parts and you put them together, who is Wendi?
I am someone who is always looking at the other person, just making sure that they are supported, happy, and even growing up, that I was always the middle person between the two other friends and myself. They would have fights, arguments, and I would always be the one to get them to, to get back together again.
The peacekeeper.
Right. Yes. I was exactly that all the time. And so I think that translates into what I'm doing right now, helping women just realize that they are valuable and making sure that they realize that and know how to do it online, actually, especially because, that's a global opportunity for them. And so just making sure that, just ultimately the global ripple effect. I've talked about that for several years, ever since I started coaching. There's a global ripple effect with all the coaches around helping the world become a better place. And so that is sort of my way of contributing to what you're talking about right now, the whole diversity, depending on, no matter what color you are or your background. The whole idea is to make the world a better place. And so to expand that global ripple effect so that we can just thrive in our own businesses and our lives, and as well as other people too. So that's basically my thing.
Brilliant. Now I know another piece of you is the level of you that is really committed to encouraging women to pick a cause, pick a project, pick something you're passionate about and give your attention, give your time, and give your money to it. What inspired you to move in this direction? And how do you carry that inspiration forward and share it with others so that they will as well?
I think my parents were always donating to different charities and giving and having people over, and I was sort of in the background watching them, and all these people just loved them. And even in the town where we were the only Black people, uh, there it was just the respect that they gained from the people that we knew. And so I think that I carried that into throughout school, and once I became a professional clarinetist, and then into the coaching, it just seems like it sort of segues right into it. One other thing that happened to me when I was in the Navy, I had a miscarriage when I was 4 months pregnant. So I was 20 weeks pregnant when I had this miscarriage. And so once I did that, it was the most devastating thing that happened to me in my entire life. But after that happened, I couldn't believe the support that I received from all of my friends, and some people I didn't even know, like, were sending. This was back before cell phones or internet or anything. So I would get all these letters and things. Yeah, little letters and things. I was just so amazed and overwhelmed by all of the support I received, and I never needed to go to grief counseling because of it. So I carry that into the present, and making sure people are as supported as I can help with that. And so I think people should sort of think of that kind of thing as this, just knowing that you are valued and you are valuable to other people. And so they will look up to you. They'll look up to you as the authority, and you'll be that omnipresent type of person that will always be there for them, which will give them the security and know that you're going to be there with them and support them. So
that is a beautiful story. Thank you. That's a very vulnerable story. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so pleased for you that you had such wonderful support. And that is, of course, that is something I'm always encouraging women to do, is to start learning how to be present with each other in all kinds of different ways.
yes,
Wendi, I so appreciate you being here. If there is one thing in closing that you would love to share with our listeners, what would it be?
The one thing I would love to share is find out what that ultimate goal is that you want in life and business, and it could be together. But just always keep that in the forefront of your mind, because if you're in business, there are going to be bumps. You're going to fall. Just get right back up, and just always think of that final ultimate result that you want, and you'll keep going. You will never quit. So that's the message. Don't ever quit.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. Yes. And be the brilliant woman that you are.
Thank you so much, Wendi. And thank you all so much for tuning in. Now, I know that you got at least a nugget or two. And you know what we tend to do with those? I'm guilty as charged. We put them in our pocket and then we forget about them. And then we find them 6 weeks or 6 months later. We're not quite sure what it was that we were saying when we wrote that note. So here's my solution to this. I've started this. I'm getting more consistent at it. I want to invite y'all to join me. You take that nugget, write it down, because I know some of you are driving or jogging. Don't write while you're driving, but write it down, stick it in your pocket. And then when you get home, write it out on something else, and then just throw it somewhere, on your bar, on your table, on your bedside table, someplace where it's going to resurface here in a few weeks or months, but you've written it out in a way that you know what it means now. And then when you come back across it, instead of just tossing it out, remember that you wrote it down for a reason. What did that thing that you wrote down that Wendi said, or that thing that you wrote down that something she said triggered, what does that say to you? What does that introduce to you? Take that nugget in again and absorb it. Because when we get these wonderful insights from these women, these brilliant, wise women, it's easy to take it in for the moment and then get right back into our human doing, human busy instead of human being. So take whatever those nuggets are that Wendi gave you today, write them out in a little bit more completeness when you get home so you'll remember what it is, and then just lay it somewhere as a gift to your future self. And again, thank you for tuning in to Women We Should Know. I'd like to invite you to please subscribe, like, share, and comment. I know I'm on this bandwagon with y'all, and you're thinking, she keeps bugging us about that. Yes, I'm going to continue. Comment. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with the guest. You don't have to disagree with us. But get in the conversation. Get in the larger conversation. Because as we do this, we find that every single one of us has more to bring to the table than what we had imagined. So as you go through the rest of your day, please remember, you are stronger and wiser than you know.